you first have to quieten the external chatter and also have to quieten the internal chatter. So if I may request all of you to stop doing what you're doing. Many times when we are connected to these sessions, we continue doing our things, our household chores, talking to people on phone, etc., etc. So we are not totally present for these sessions. But I invite you to do so for a little bit, for your own benefit and for the benefit of the group. Although you're here today to listen to this talk or to participate in it, but you could be simultaneously contributing to the energy of the group. So if possible, stop doing everything else that you're doing and just come to here and now. You deserve this time. You deserve this space. You deserve to understand the language of silence. You deserve to experience silence. And if there's any noise around you, you can even use that noise for your own benefit. Every time there's a distraction, use that as a segue to go deeper into silence. More the distraction, deeper your experience of silence. I heard a dog barking a few moments back. Every time the dog barks, for whoever it was, find that as the source to take you to deeper and deeper levels of silence. Almost as if you're going deep into an ocean. And you've reached such depth now that there is nothing but silence inside you and around you. You're soaked in silence. and you're experiencing silence more than ever before. And in this space, in this moment, you begin to hear the voice of the soul. The voice of God, and the voice of time. What does my soul want from me? What does God expect from me? And what is the message of time for me? Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
So silence heals, just as in the present times due to coronavirus, people are in quarantine so that they can heal themselves while also not infect others. Silence is the quarantine of the soul. It helps in healing the soul and also helps in preventing the negativity, which is the dis-ease of the soul, to others. So today we'll talk about silence. Is that the goal today?
Yeah, those who have come for the first time, or maybe they're joining, maybe they have attended last time. We can do a little recap of what we discussed last time. We talked about how this silence is that space in the core of the being, that is where the silence resides, peace resides. And in order to experience that inner peace, we took this visualization of seeing the entire world as if it is like a big storm. This corona has come like a big storm, like a hurricane. And what happens when hurricane comes, it brings with it so much of, maybe there's so many strong winds and rain, and it is devastating. The entire place where the hurricane is, it attacks, the place gets devastated. But what we have to focus on is that space in that storm. There is a place in the storm which is considered to be very calm, where there are no strong winds, but the atmosphere is very calm. And that is considered to
be the eye
be,
of the storm.
Yeah, that's what we discussed last time, the eye of the storm. And I had shown you a picture of NASA also, where they have shown how at the eye of the storm, there was so much of the surface of the ocean was so clear because of the calmness of that space. And that is considered to be the place of safety, where we can go and we can be at peace. So during this time, when the entire world is going through so much, we can also go into this space, the eye of the storm, and experience that quietness, that peacefulness, that calmness that is so healing. And from that space, we can see everything very clearly. Because that is like as if my third eye gets opened up. If I am in that space, I'm able to know what I need to do. I'm able to understand, because that is the space, space of wisdom as well. I'm able to see everything very clearly, what needs to be done at that moment. So we took that journey to that space last time. So today also maybe we can do a little bit of exploration more about that space, why it is considered to be a safe place. Like Shwetank was sharing that the entire world is in quarantine, and that quarantine is definitely very important so that we don't infect others and also for our own safety, right? But that is actually at the physical level. But when we talk about the eye of the storm, this quarantine, the space, what we need to do is we have to take our mind to that space of quarantine, because mind is getting so much affected, more than the physical body right now. People have so much, people are creating so much fear, so much anxiety, so much tension, so much stress. And if the mind is under a lot of stress, that impacts the physical body as well. Because we know that mind and body both are connected to each other. Whatever happens in my mind is definitely going to influence my physical body. So if I want to strengthen the immunity of my physical body so that I don't get attacked by the coronavirus, then I need to enhance my immunity at the level of the mind, the soul. So this is the reason why going into that quarantine, taking the mind into that space is so important. Because it is not only going to affect my mind, it's going to create a lot of peace. It's definitely going to affect my mind, and also the energy that I generate in my mind, that's going to affect my physical body.
I like to see it as the difference between doing and being. So, and I like to use the image of a wheel, say a bicycle wheel, and there are several spokes that come from the center to the side, the rim of the wheel. And so if we are at the rim, there's an activity happening all the time. When we go round and round, you see the rim goes round and round and round and round. That happens to us too. When if you look at the hurricane too, it goes round and round and round around that eye of the hurricane. Here too, the rim goes round and round and round around that center of the wheel. If I can go from the rim to the center, or at least closer to the center, if you see, if say we measure the speed of the rim the most outward, outside, the diameter, versus as we come closer and closer to the center, the speed decreases.
Right.
And eventually the center doesn't move at all.
Yeah, it's like stationary.
It's stationary.
Yeah.
Everything around it moves. The very next molecule, if you will, around that center point moves, but the center point doesn't move.
Yeah.
So if I can go into my being in this world of doing, then I can experience that silence.
Yeah.
And then I can share that silence with others.
I think that's a beautiful metaphor to experience, to understand and to experience that space of silence.
I was also thinking about this when you said that we'll be talking about silence. Then silence is a language. Yeah, just like we have different languages that we learn, but there is a mother tongue, right, that right from birth we have had our parents talk to us in that, and that becomes our natural language. So even in the middle of the night, if so somebody asks us something, and although we may be knowing 10 different languages, yeah, and we could be pretty fluent and proficient in those languages, yet what happens is at the time of when we are unaware a little bit, then the mother tongue comes up and we speak in our mother tongue. But what is the true mother tongue? God is our mother, God is our father, our parent, and the language of God as a mother, ultimate mother and father, is our true mother tongue, true father tongue.
And that is the language of silence. Yeah.
Because
so that
God
is our eternal original language.
Eternal original language, right? But silence is just like any other language, has to be learned, and it takes time to work through the different nuances of silence. Just like any language has its own grammar, its own vocabulary. Yeah, silence has that too.
So maybe we can learn ABC of silence today. Are you ready to learn the language, new language? Yes, ABC of silence. So it starts.
Yes, we are.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because see, when we start thinking about experiencing silence, the very A of silence is going into reflection. When we go into reflection, that means we keep our mind very still, very still. And then as the mind gets still, we talk to the mind and say to ourselves that I am peace. That's the understanding, that I am peace. So that is the reflection that is important. Before we really experience silence, it's important to reflect who I am, who am I? I need to remember that I am originally a being of peace. It's not like a mantra that you are just repeating in the mind, I am peace, I am peace, I am peace. It's not like a mantra, but it is more of really understanding that this is truly who I am. I am not what I see with my physical eyes. I am not this physical body. This body is just made up of flesh and bones and cells and blood and all those things. And it is destined to perish. One day it's going to perish. This is not who I am. No, but really reflecting on that I am peace. That is, I am being of peace, that being who is
eternal,
immortal, imperishable. And really taking just one thing at a time and going into the depth of that experience. Like in the beginning, you shared how You give the experience of going into the ocean. And when we go deep into the ocean, what do we find and what do we experience? There's so many things.
Yeah, there is silence, there is quietness, but there's stillness, but also there are jewels.
Jewels. Yeah. Right? The creatures that we don't find on the surface, those creatures we can find deep into the ocean.
But more important than creatures, we see the jewels, the pearls.
The pearls and oysters and all those things, right? Yeah. So the first step is reflection. And as we reflect, we go into the second step, that is concentration. We can pick up any one aspect. For example, I, the soul, am immortal. Just pick up one and concentrate on this. I am an immortal soul. Just concentrate on this one.
Yeah, what does immortality mean?
Yeah.
What does eternality mean for me?
Yeah. So going back and forth between reflection and concentration.
You can jump from one to the other.
Yeah.
As you start getting bored of one.
Right. Yeah. And then as you concentrate more and more on that particular point, you also get to experience that. When you understand that, yes, I am truly an immortal soul, what do you experience? So kind of, you are at that moment, you are liberated from any kind of fear. I am never going to die. Immediate liberation from any kind of fear.
Right? And then it helps us into not wanting to hoard, not wanting to amass things for ourselves. Then our behavior changes too, right? So from reflection to concentration to, what is the third step?
The third step is connection.
Connection would be the behavior change.
Yeah, connection to really the core where we want to go. Because the core is the place of real deep experience. So reflection to concentration to connection. And then as we connect to that core, we are also able to connect to the supreme connection. So these are few steps that we can take to really experience that deep inner silence. And I see it as if, we were talking about quarantine. So it is as if you are going to your inner hospital. That is the space, when you go to the hospital, when something happens to your physical body, you go to the hospital, and in the hospital, they ask you to be in silence, because only when you are still, you are quiet at one place, can the doctor examine you. If you are moving all the time or making a lot of noise, doctor won't be able to examine you properly, right? So similarly, if you are entering into that space of silence, that is, we can see it as a hospital. When you are there, then you have to be very quiet. Mind is going there, very still, and just sitting there to get examined. So feel right now, feel as if you are taking your mind to that space, quiet space. And mind is just sitting there, is getting examined by the being, the soul. The soul doctor is right there. You don't have to go anywhere outside to get yourself checked out. The mind doctor, the soul doctor is right inside. The inner doctor is there, and you don't have to pay anything. It's free of charge. There's no cost. And also you can take appointment at any time. You don't have to worry about any appointment time.
Yeah, I like that.
You can go.
Nowadays, it takes months to get an appointment with a specialist, especially.
Right. Yeah, when you talk about specialist, I was also thinking that, first the general physician will examine, right? That, yes, you have this and this and this, the problem. And then diagnosis.
So diagnosis would be you think too much.
Yeah.
It
So
could be, right?
general, whatever problem is there in the mind, general physician will tell you that this is the problem. Similarly, the being, when you go into this space, to this hospital, the being will examine.
Yeah, like a resident versus the attending. The attending would be God. Is that where you're coming in?
No, I'm coming, not going there.
Okay.
I'm going to a different thing.
Okay.
I am going to another level.
Okay.
So, because see, the wise self, the being is already, it's not a resident.
Okay.
It knows that you have this problem.
Residents know it too, but they need a supervisor.
Yeah. No, but the supervisor is what I am going.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is something different.
Okay.
I am going to a different place.
All right.
So you take your mind to the hospital. You're being examined by the being, that is the wise doctor inside. And that doctor tells you that, okay, you have fear, for example. So you need this and this treatment. You take this medicine. You take the medicine of maybe anything.
Yeah, silence for a few days.
Yeah, quarantine. You have to sit here quarantine for 7 days or whatever, and just keep creating this energy. I am a peaceful being. This is like a pill. Okay. I am a peaceful being.
Let's go to the next because I'm curious where you're going to.
And so after 7 days, if mind is not able to really get anything out of it, so then the being will say, okay, you need a specialist.
Okay.
Right? So the specialist is, the being is not the specialist.
Okay.
The specialist is supreme.
The highest source.
The highest source of energy. So then the mind needs to connect to the supreme. The supreme specialist. Mind has to go there. That is why, in Raj Yoga meditation, both the connections are important. Connecting to the self and connecting to God. Connecting to the self means you're going to general physician. Connecting to God means you are going to specialist. And I feel that at this time, everyone needs specialist.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think?
Yeah, sure.
Everyone needs a specialist. Because everyone is going through so many problems. It's not just one problem. And that specialist is super specialist, because that specialist has treatment for everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to go separately for like cardiologist, neurologist, endocrinologist. You don't have to go. That specialist is a specialist in all areas. Whatever disease the mind is.
For me, the scene was coming as the resident versus the attending. The resident is making the preliminary diagnosis, and then the attending, the supervisor, the senior comes in, and then he will correct a little bit. Yeah, that also.
You can take that way as well.
Yeah,
but why I don't want to use that? Because resident and attending, if you take it like that, then only there is one disease. But that specialist is
so this irrespective, right. But you can have the doctor, the attending, who knows everything. So he's a super subspecialist attending, and the resident is the trainee. So the resident is making the preliminary diagnosis, thinking too much. Yeah, like the doctor says, eats too much. Yeah. So you become too obese. Yeah, and so you got to eat less. So your mind has become too obese. So then there'll be a prescription too.
Right.
There could be certain tests. Yeah. And so just like there's a treadmill test, there's blood test, there's this test. So we'll have to go through several degrees of several types of soul tests. Yeah, and then we finally they come up with a prescription for us. Yeah, and so the soul has the prescription. If we are thinking too much, then stop thinking every now and then. Yeah, stop the train of thoughts. And because what happens with trains which are uncontrolled, they're runaway trains, they end up with the wreck. Yeah, and so we have to not let our mind go so crazy that it ends up with a mind wreck.
Yeah.
So that I like that. I like that. Yeah. And the C was concentration, right? So no,
C is connection.
connection.
Yeah.
So A
Is
connection. I like to see this ABC in a little different way, and I was just thinking about it, that A would be the understanding of the soul and the supreme soul, the connection, if you will. A for Almighty, the supreme energy, but you can't really understand the Almighty unless you understand yourself. So A is for that. B is what you receive from God.
Okay.
Yeah. Because this silence enables us to connect with God, also enables us to receive from God. Yeah. And C is then understanding the whole cycle of time. Yeah. How we go through different phases of where initially, as we were discussing in the morning too, initially when we are born with a lot of innocence. And as time goes on, then we get tarnished by the negativity of the world. And it's not just this lifetime, but it is multiple lifetimes that we have lived. And the original state where we were completely pure, completely perfect, completely innocent, we can go back to that. Yeah. And now we have come quite a ways away from that. And so we have to make that journey back. So I like to see the ABC as that.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another way we can look at it is maybe A for activation.
Okay.
Activation, the gene in the soul, in the mind, the soul has become dormant for a very long period of time. It has not been activated. Just like, there are genes in the physical body, they remain dormant. And then because of maybe environmental influences, because of stress or whatever, one day they get activated. For example, cancer genes. Cancer genes are actually there in every human being.
But they are inactive.
They are inactive. They are in a dormant stage. But because of unfavorable conditions, stress, and all those things, environmental toxins or whatever, and they get activated, and then they affect the whole physical body.
Yeah.
So similarly, the gene in the soul, it's a good gene. That is actually a bad gene. And we're talking about the cancer gene. But there is a good gene. There are many good genes in the soul, and they are in their dormant stage. And they get activated the moment we remember who we are. I am a peaceful being. The moment I remember that this is who I am, these genes, they begin to get activated. They are turned on. The switch is turned on. And then when the switch is turned on, they get activated. I begin to release the energy of peace. There is burst of energy. As the gene gets activated, there is burst of energy of peace, love, happiness, all these different genes. So one gene gets activated, it kind of bombards other genes. So it's like a chain reaction. One gene is activated and then it attacks the other one, and then other gene gets activated, and then more and more genes they're activated. So peace gene, love gene, wisdom gene, all these genes, they get activated. So what happens?
There's an avalanche of all of these genes, all of these activities, or positive activities, of the soul.
Yeah, and then that creates a beautiful environment inside in the mind. And mind begins to then experience that. So you become that. B for becoming. You become that. That means you start to feel that energy in your mind and in your physical body. Every cell of your body starts to really jump with joy, we can say. The moment this gene, the soul gene, gets activated. And then when you start to become that, with that energy, you can connect with everyone else.
Yeah.
And when you begin to connect with others, you begin to share your energy with others. So your gene will then influence the genes of others. So you kind of create that environment, beautiful environment of peace, love, and happiness. And I think this is the time when everyone, each one of us, we all have to activate our genes inside.
There is no doubt that, absolutely no question, that silence heals. Yeah, and we all need to now experience that silence. We all need to go there, irrespective of what we are doing, where we are doing, however busy we are. In fact, the busier we are, we have to sit in that silence for more time.
Yeah.
And just like any language, yeah, we spend time learning that language. We have to really make that effort to learn the language of silence. It's now or never sort of situation, right?
Yeah.
And so, how do you all feel? We can take a few moments to ask everyone if they have any questions, any comments.
Yeah. Otherwise, we can take a moment to really experience.
Yeah, we can break for a moment. And yeah, anybody would like to ask something, say something. And Suman Ben can, you can put it in the chat box. You can actually raise your hand. I know you can't unmute yourself, but if you want to physically raise your hand, you can, and then we'll unmute you. Yeah, Suman Ben and or Swati can unmute you.
Yeah, the activation of genes, it happens only when we enter that space of silence. It's important for us to go there. So let's take this moment. If nobody has any questions.
No questions, no comments.
We can all go together.
Yeah, the Marshall wants to say something. Yes, Marshall, you want to say something? We can. Marshall has joined from Ohio. Let me see if I can unmute him.
You cannot unmute him.
Yeah, you'll have to unmute yourself, Marshall, if you want to say something. Yeah. Oh, is Michelle there too?
Yeah, I think we cannot hear you.
Can one of the co-hosts also try to?
Can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wasn't planning on saying anything. I just gave you thumbs up that I enjoyed it, and I love what you're doing, what you're saying.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Marshall and Michelle have joined from Ohio, Cleveland, close to Cleveland. Wonderful. Welcome both of you.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us.
Yes.
Let us know about anything else that we can join on Zoom.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, we will let you know. Okay. All right, so we can have a little experience then.
Yeah, let's together with this understanding that we all have this super gene inside that can help us create energy of peace, energy of love, energy of compassion. So let's take this moment to gently step inwards. Allow the mind to be very still and silent. And see as if you are entering into that silent space, the core of your being. Turning on the switch of awareness that I am a being of peace. I am a being of peace. Allow this thought to go deep into the core of your being. And let it activate the dormant gene. Maybe you can silently whisper to that gene, wake up, wake up. This is the time I really need you. And instantly, you begin to feel the energy of peace flowing in your mind, giving you the experience of calmness, quietness, that tranquil environment is getting created. Take this moment to absorb this powerful energy of peace. Peace is power, but this power can be harnessed only when this gene gets activated. In this space, in this core, the heart of the soul. You can say that the silent space is like the lap of your mother. How do you feel? How does a child feel in mother's lap? The lap of the consciousness is the silent space. And as you begin to experience the energy of peace, there is also a burst of love that is getting generated from this lap of consciousness. Your mind is getting filled with love and peace. And as the energy is flowing in your mind, many different genes are also getting activated simultaneously. And the being and the whole body is now vibrating with love, peace, happiness, kindness. And from you, this energy is now flowing outwards into the world. You are now sending this healing energy to other souls of the world. Oh, Shanti.
Yeah, Om Shanti. When you were taking us into that space, I felt as if I'm going into that space in the eye of the hurricane. I was trying to create that visualization. And then I went into the center point of the wheel, and where it felt as if everything around me is going round and round in a whirl. But I am totally stationary. I'm still, I'm quiet. So going from that doing into the being of who I am truly is a very beautiful experience. And so we have talked a lot about the healing, right? And this is where we can activate the genes for healing. We can allow the supreme doctor, the supreme specialist, the attending, the consultant to come and diagnose and then prescribe what we need. But I also wanted to take us into the understanding of being able to hear the hidden messages that are all around us. You see, because they, in a way, if you think about it, the sentence is there's this sentence, right? Any sentence that we speak, that we write, the sentence becomes meaningful not just by the words. The words have power, the words have meaning, but the entire sentence becomes meaningful by the space between the words. Yeah, without any space, there is no meaning to the words. And even between sentences, that's why we have a period or a comma or an exclamation or a question mark. We have all these punctuations.
Otherwise, you will not comprehend.
I hope, yeah. So even between sentences, as you write the first, the second, or as the first sentence goes into the second, there is space. And that's where the true energy lies.
So similarly, between two thoughts, there is a space.
Yes.
And that is where we can draw power.
Correct. So that's the silence between the thoughts. That's the silence between our activities that we engage in. And when we learn the art of going into that space, harnessing that energy, that's where, they say, read between the lines, for the hidden message. And there are so many, in fact, for everything that we need to do in today's world, because there's so much confusion whether I should do this or that to protect myself, to heal myself, whether I should eat this kind of food, whether I should drink this, whether I should do whatever, right? I mean, there are just innumerable questions that keep coming in the mind. Now, if I want answers to those for my own safety and protection, I need to be able to hear the language of God, and that exists in the silent space, or the space between the words. And I want to, share that, of course, in today's world, I'm sure you have heard, you've felt it yourself, that intuition, that gut feeling, right? That what is the need of the moment, need of the hour. But I want to share that there was this very interesting situation when there was this major earthquake in India, in the northwestern part of India. And there were some Brahma Kumaris sisters who were living at the center, which was the epicenter of one of the most devastating earthquake that happened to India, in India. And I guess the entire cities or the villages got wiped out. They were they were saying something like 10 million people died unofficially, or something like that. That kind of big devastation. And I don't know, I could be quoting a wrong number, but that's what is coming in my mind. Almost a crore people. Crore would mean that is 10 million. And the Brahma Kumari Center, nothing really happened to that. Nothing happened. There were a couple of cracks, but nothing happened. But in the morning, so this happened very early in the morning, I think 4:30 or something like that. And when these sisters got up to meditate, and they were sitting in meditation, that they were experiencing silence for sure, right? And so in that moment, they had this message kind of flash into their minds that they need to get out of that space right away. And they did listen to that message, and they were saved, and they came back really, but the center was absolutely okay. Nothing really happened. In fact, the center got benefited because the water that was coming in from the bore well that they had was earlier very salty. And after the earthquake, then, because of the shift of the tectonic plates, there was sweet water that started coming in that well. And that center became a source of water for the entire village, and also food for the entire village. But see how that in silence we can hear the unheard, we can see the unseen, we can know the unknown.
And you can save yourself, and you can help so many.
So many that. So silence is the need of the hour, to be able to hear your own inner voice, hear, because this inner voice also is a very wise voice.
Right, it's a wise voice, and that is why there is a saying that goes like this: silence is golden, speech is silver. We have been hearing this for such a long time, but until I came to this meditation practice, I
never understood this.
Never understood really,
we don't understand how can silence be golden.
Golden. So when we think about golden, it is so precious. Gold is so precious. And I was thinking in the morning that when any precious thing, we store it in a safe place.
Yeah.
We don't keep gold here and there, but it is packaged and then kept at a place, maybe in a locker or somewhere where no thieves can reach and where only we can have access to that thing.
Correct.
So similarly, this silence is so precious that it is, if you want to experience it, you really have to
Protect it.
yeah,
Keep it in a safe space.
keep it in a safe space. And also nature has made it like that it is safe inside. It's not here in the body, but you have to really go into the core to experience that silence.
Yeah, but what I meant was that not allow the things of the world to
disturb
steal the silence.
To steal the silence.
Yeah. So I have to, in other words, I cannot hope that things will automatically happen for me. Yeah, I have to take responsibility to protect my own silence from the world out there.
Yeah, and then again, it's your choice whether you want gold or you want silver. It's your choice.
Speech is good too. It's not bad, but the silence between, that's what I said, the space between the words is where the true power lies, the true message lies.
Yeah, and when you go to that space, then you also connect to your golden self. Right? Your golden self is really provide you that richness, that precious things that you're looking for. Peace, love, happiness, everything resides. And this is the reason why it is called as why silence is golden. Because when you reach there, you're able to understand your value. You're so precious. You're not ordinary. But because we don't go there, we never realize how much value we hold.
Right, so that's good. If anybody has any questions, any thoughts, we can conclude with some more meditation so that we can experience the silence. Yeah.
Brother Shatan, I want to make an announcement which I forgot initially.
Yeah.
So those who are joining us first time, or they never provided us their information like their phone number or email address, I will request them to put their information in the chat box so that we can reach out to you whenever we have a next session or next information or any workshop we have it. We will not share this information with anybody else. So please put your information in the chat box. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sumit. So could you post that link for registration? Everybody else has been with us in the past, and we have their information, except there's one person I see by the name Raj. And Marshall and Michelle we have. And Michelle, before you leave, Jyoti, we have yours.
Yeah.
What link? I didn't see any link. Blue on blue, a link for the Zoom URL was difficult to see. Achha, that's all right. But yeah, Michelle does these sessions as well. Michelle is a good speaker. Michelle, would you like to? Oh, Tama, we have yours. Don't worry, we don't need yours. Just, I think the only person is Raj. Could you identify yourself, Raj? And then we would love to hear from Michelle too, because Michelle does, right, Michelle? You do these sessions on a regular basis, right, in Cleveland area? So we would love to hear from you too. What is your take on silence? I don't know whether you can hear or not. Can you? Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, Raj, could you identify yourself? Could we see your face? We'd love to see you. Yeah. No. All right. Yes, Michelle. You have to unmute yourself.
Oh, there. Okay, I got it. Okay. Yes, beautiful. Yeah, I'm on the same page. I often do meditations about just going into the silence, because in that silence we connect to the Supreme, we connect to the soul, and we experience the treasures of our peaceful, loveful, wisdom. Our internal wisdom is there, and we can access everything in that silence. And I love the analogy between the silence and the space between the words, you know, or the spaces in, you know, when you look at the spaces between the objects, you know, in the world, looking at the background rather than the foreground, it takes you again into that dimension. So yeah, very beautiful. I love the analogy to genetics, you know, the genes and the physician, the internal physician. So yeah, it was all very good. And yeah, I haven't, what we've been doing lately is we've been meeting in Cleveland with a small group, and we've been having sessions where we discuss aspects of spirituality week to week. And I haven't done anything on Zoom. I've been enjoying what everybody else is doing because there's so many wonderful things out there. But we're going to start the group that you came to, you know, that grew from, there was a core group. We're going to start meeting on Zoom and resuming our classes there. And also we have a small group that took the course with Sister Shubra. So we're going to continue on to Murli with them.
Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. And, you know, I like how you said so you think about it, the objects that we have in the house, yeah, the space between the objects is where we live. That's what creates any meaningful space, really. The space that the objects occupy, that remains meaningless, really. Yeah. Objects are meaningful too. I'm not saying they're not, but they are like the words. But where do you live? You don't live on the objects. You don't live in the objects. You live in the space between the objects. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and actually, even when you bring your consciousness into the space between the objects, it takes you into silence. So it's all the same dimension, really, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and Raj has said that we were the ones who introduced him or her, but somehow, if you could share your cell phone number or email address, that would be great, because somehow we are not able to remember how we,
where are you from,
and so on and so forth. It looks like your microphone is not working, but if you could send us your information, because somehow I'm not able to remember who you were. But all right, so if there are any other questions, would you like to say something, ask something? I think I can give it back to Suman for taking this into the question answers or chat.
Okay. Can you hear me? Oh, now I can't hear you.
No, yes,
Okay.
now yeah,
Oh.
go ahead, Tamara.
Okay. So I think my biggest thing was silence. I am really enjoying the silence, especially since the very first session that we had, when the entire session was silent, and that was really amazing. And so now I've gotten to the point where even if I'm in my car, which was, you know, I was always like listening to the books or listening to music, at this point, I pretty much just have my meditation CDs in my car, and then, but most of the time I don't even turn those on. I'm just sitting in silence, or, you know, around the house. I do my work or cleaning or whatever, and it's silent. I think my biggest challenge now is that my loved ones and the people that I care about in my life, they like to have background noise and music, and the silence really bothers them. And I've tried to share the meditation with them, and they're not interested. So I think the challenge is trying to find the silence in myself, if that makes any sense, so that even when things are not silent around me, I can still find that silence within. Does that make sense? Is that possible? Do you think?
No,
do you have any advice?
No, so you're working on it, right? And you will find it. It is just that we have to make our inner silence so powerful that it overwhelms the noise that is in the background going on, which has been created by other people. Yes,
Right.
think of it, if there is, say, some noise going on and there is some music going on, which will win? The one that is more powerful.
Right.
So similarly, silence versus noise, because for silence, everything else is noise. Even music is noise.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So all of that noise can be dampened, can be overpowered by silence if we make our silence more powerful.
Once
And
you, once you start to enjoy the music of silence, you will not like to hear any other music.
I really don't. I really don't. It
Yeah,
irritates me.
right.
It irritates me. And I have friends that, you know, they want to listen to music while we're talking, and I don't understand that. Yeah.
Right. And see, what happens is, like, if I go to work and we'll have a break room where there will be 24/7 television going on, 24/7 Fox News going on, and you sit there and people watching it. So sometimes I try to zone out, and I step away from there, or I try to use each word that is coming to push me more into silence. Like, whatever noise is coming, and as soon as, say, that person who is watching that news steps away, I switch off the television. Something or the other we have to figure out for ourselves. But I know this is a constant battle with the world, because for them silence is punishment.
Yes. Yes. And
Because
my
the
kids
mind,
feel that way too. They do not like the silence. It's so hard for them to just quietly take a test or whatever. It's difficult.
yeah, it's like solitary confinement for them, like this imprisonment, and you are put into this solitary state. Because what happens is, the demons come up,
Yes.
whatever. Yeah, that's the truth of the matter, and that drives people crazy. But we have to work, for us to, as we enter into deeper and deeper phases of silence, there will be more and more demons that will be uncovered, which will want to push us back to a more superficial layer of silence,
Right.
as we go on. So this is not just their problem, it is our internal problem too, so we all have
Right.
to go through that journey. With time, as we process our demons, it will all be okay. Yeah. So congratulations. Of course it will be. And thank you for reminding of that session. You remember there was one session which suddenly I had that inspiration that we won't talk anything. So we will just have silence. So, but that is not possible on Zoom, because you're, not in that space for silence. So we
Right.
all here, we probably said just 2 or 3 sentences in the beginning, and then the whole 1.5 hours, you were totally on your own. Because eventually, you have to find your own ways to create silence. Yeah, we can't go to your homes with you.
Right. And I think that was the beginning that I started, like, just spending some time in a silence where I had not done that before. I too always had like some kind of music or the TV going or a book, listening to a book or something when I was working or, sitting around the house, whatever. And I think that was the beginning of like just taking time. And now I can sit all day in the silence, do my work, and
Great.
and be just fine. It drives, like I said, it drives my loved ones crazy because they come into my space and then they're like, it's so quiet.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Awesome. At that time, we were so skeptical. We didn't realize how people will feel. But then eventually we did. And then, oh, all right. So I'm going to unmute Raj now. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, Raj.
Harrisburg.
Yeah.
You
Raj?
can unmute yourself.
No,
have
we've
unmuted.
unmuted you. Yeah, it's okay. Probably they. Are you able to figure out how to unmute yourself? We have unmuted you. anyways, if anybody else has anything to say, ask, comment.
I have a question.
Yes, Samantha.
So, and this might be a question for other beginners, that I feel like my mind keeps talking. Even though I'm doing something, it keeps talking either about the past or the future. Can you tell us in a simple way or easy way how to go to the silence, like the first step, how to keep your mind quiet, let's say?
See, it is just like learning how to ride a bicycle. You have to get into it, and it automatically unfolds for you. There is no magic potion. There's no magic kind of checklist or anything like that. I can share with you many tricks that can help, but eventually you got to find what works best for you. And as I've mentioned, it happens for all of us. We try to stop the external chatter, but the internal chatter still keeps coming. We have to figure out a way to stop that. We have to train our minds, in other words. We have to tame our minds, train our minds. Mind it's like, even think of it as a small child that has lived in the wild. Yeah, like Tarzan. Yeah, that's how the mind has been gone crazy. And now we're going to bring it into, I know there are several people who foster children, several people who like to do that. And there will be children who would be displaced because of whatever reason, and then they would be sent to these parents, and they would do it. And they say, somebody I met who does this on a regular basis, saying it's very challenging. Yeah, some of these children have been exposed to violence and abuses at a very early age. So you have to train them back to the civilized state. So our mind has become quite uncivilized, quite untrained. But that's why you see, if a child is into violence and all that and abuse, it's not very happy. It may be feeling that that is the way of life because of ignorance, but it's not really happy. When we teach it the right method, then that's when we are doing more service to that child. Similarly to this internal child, we are doing more service when we make it more civilized. Train it, tame it. We have to spend time. It takes effort. It takes a lot of putting your energies together to train the mind. And it happens. You look at those people, these Buddhist monks, for example, or in Brahmakumaris, our seniors, Dadi Janki Ji and many others. It didn't happen overnight for them. But what happens is, for all of us, the biggest problem with all of us is we want quick fixes. That's the difference between our achievement and theirs. And so we end up with failures and they end up with successes because we want quick fixes. And there is no quick fix in this.
I'll share with you one formula that you can use. Formula is APL. Just now I discovered that. APL. Okay, what does that mean? A for acceptance. Accept your mind as it is. Don't judge. Don't criticize. Just accept it as it is. And then P stands for patience. Be patient. Be patient with your mind. Have faith that yes, the mind is definitely going to change one day. Like Shwetank said, we want quick fixes. But if you use the energy of patience, then you won't be, you won't be wanting it to be very quick. You will be, yes, I know that this is going to take some time, so let me be patient. And L stands for love. Just keep giving love to your mind. Very simple. APL.
Thank you. I think I have to make more conscious efforts to think about these three and make it quieter. slowly and gradually.
And trust the process. That's the most important thing. Trust the process. Have full faith in your child. Just like, mothers, they have full faith in their child. That yes, one day my child is definitely going to, grow and develop and whatever.
Mature.
Whatever.
Yeah.
There's so much patience. So that exactly, you have to become mother of your own mind. And for mothers, it is very easy, right? Especially for mothers, because they have already had the training.
They have a lot of patience.
Yeah. You have to be patient with them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anything else? No. Then it's some few minutes of meditation.
Yeah. So let's. Murray, you want to say something? Murray is also here. I don't know whether she can speak or not.
They have to raise their hands, and they have to either do it physically by switching on the camera,
Or you can unmute
or
and
you
see.
can no, or I can get.
Unmute. We have unmuted you, Murray. So
Or
you
if
can.
so do you know how to raise your hand electronically in Zoom? Yeah, when you go into participants, I guess, or when you go into chat, either of the two, I guess, is where you have
You have to go to the participants.
yeah, participants, because we are the host, so I don't think I can raise my hand. Yeah, but others can raise their hand if they want to, and then we can unmute you. If not, then okay. So we can end with a few minutes of really speaking. Do we need any instruction now? You want to go into your own silence, and we can end there. Yeah, just go into your own silence. See how you can heal yourself. How you can listen to your own inner voice, the voice of God, the voice of time. Yeah. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
And we'll see you all next Sunday, same time. with yet another topic, and we will explore something new next time.